Hello and welcome to Tomorrow is Yesterday, the show where we review every episode of Star Trek in production order. My name is Brandon Couch, and with me, as always, David Moss. Introduce yourself, David.
Reptar
What?
from the 90s TV show Rugrats.
The fact that you felt the need to call it the 90s TV show Rugrats.
I mean, it is from the 1900s.
You're a dork.
So, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about the alternative factor. It's gonna be a rough one.
It is a very rough one.
I honestly thought this episode was in season 3 because it's so bad. And season 3 has like a reputation for having most of the bad ones.
So, I'll just go ahead and say this now.
Okay.
I was watching this and I was like, it made me think, what is the worst episode of Star Trek?
Oh, there's worse than this.
And I can't tell you exactly what one is worse right this second, but this one was pretty bad. But I will tell you the top five worst episodes of the original series, according to Reddit. All five of them we've already done.
I disagree with that. One, we haven't even gotten to a season 3 yet. Two, like Wolf in the Fold is way worse than this.
This so it was I don't remember the exact I remember a few episodes. It was Man Trap,
Okay, Mantrap's not a bad one.
Miri,
Okay, Miri's terrible. I'll give him that.
what was they were all ones that we've done. Like
Like
this
seriously,
one was in there too.
Mantrap was like one that we reviewed and we both said that we liked that one. Like the Mantrap was good.
Makes you question our
Like
taste.
even you liked it. No, I question Reddit.
uh, whatever.
Like, cause Spock's brain, Wolf in the Fold, like there are worse ones.
Uh,
The one with the
anyway,
space hippies.
so I will tell you this one, according to every single thing that I found, is the worst Star Trek episode of all time.
The one with the children. Those are four worse episodes.
No, the one with the children made the list of the top five.
No, I'm not talking about Miri. I'm talking about a different one that comes in later.
I mean, there's technically several with the children, but
We'll talk about. It's an original series one. Like, it has a bunch of kids in it, and the main antagonist, they didn't even hire an actor. They hired a lawyer to play a space alien for some reason.
uh,
Yeah, but that one's bad.
we kind of touched basis on our mic check with this. But I gotta say, I had a hard time actually finding this episode because I was looking and I was like, oh, did Paramount delete this episode? It must be a bad one. But it was like 9 episodes past the arena.
Yes, David, because we do these in production order. You know it's not the same order that they're on
Right.
Paramount. We've had this conversation.
I know that. But I'm just saying, like, it was really far back there. It's like they just kind of released this when they had an opening.
No, it was probably because it took that long to do the effects for it. Like, that's probably the actual reason.
And it to be the worst Star Trek episode ever.
Not ever. There's worse ones. We'll get
I
there.
yeah, the effects aren't even that good. Like I can do that in 5 minutes.
Today, in the 2020s, sure. Like, back then, those were probably pretty good effects. On a television budget, yeah. Like, Star Trek, like, the original series went over budget, like, all the time, so.
Well, go ahead and let's
Alright.
start talking
Yeah, let's
about
get
it.
into it. The Alternative Factor, first aired on March 30th, 1967, was written by Don Ingalls, directed by Jared Oswald, who last directed The Conscience of the King. And let's get into our cast. We have Robert Brown as Lazarus, and Robert Brown's casting is kind of a bizarre story. So, John Barrymore was originally cast as Lazarus and was scheduled to start filming on day 2 of the production. On day 1, John Barrymore told the studio that he refused to show up. Now, Robert Brown was friends with William Shatner. Shatner recommended him, and he was literally dragged to the studio and offered the job on the spot and started the next morning.
Who drug him there? Shatner?
They didn't say in
Yeah.
what I found. So, I think John Barrymore dodged a bullet there.
Yeah.
Although he kind of didn't because he got punished by SAG.
Uh,
Alright, we also have DeForest Kelly as Dr. Leonard McCoy, who we last saw in Arena. Janet McLaughlin as Lieutenant Charlene Masters. Nichelle Nichols as Lieutenant Uhura, who we last saw in Arena. Richard Durr as Commodore Barstow. Ark Whiting as Assistant Engineer. Christian Patrick as Transporter Chief. Eddie Paskey as Lieutenant Leslie, who we last saw in Arena. In fact, we've seen him in every episode starting with Where No Man Has Gone Before, but this is the first time he's ever been credited in an episode.
was he the rabbit
He was not the
in
rabbit.
Shore Leave?
He was not the rabbit. If I notice the rabbit somewhere, I will tell you when the rabbit shows up. Because he's in a lot of episodes, actually. We open with a shot of the Enterprise orbiting a planet, then cut to the bridge. Spock's at his science station looking through his little scope thingy. Kirk's in his chair, Leslie's at the helm, Uhura's at communications. Kirk asks Spock about the planet. Spock says it's a pretty average planet, no life signs, nothing that could surprise us. Kirk orders to begin scanning and tells Leslie to circle the planet 4 times, then head to Starbase 200. Then all of a sudden the Enterprise violently shakes and there's this effect where we see a nebula on the screen at the same time as we see the bridge. It stops. Spock says that was incredible. Then it happens again. Kirk asks what happened.
What my instruments read is totally unbelievable, Captain. Twice, for a split second each time, everything within range of our instruments seemed on the verge of winking out.
But Kirk doesn't want poetry, he wants facts.
I have given you the facts, Captain. The entire magnetic field in this solar system simply blinked. The planet below, the mass at which we're measuring, attained zero gravity.
Kirk says that's impossible, and Spock cuts him off, non-existence. Uhura reports getting a standard general alert order from Starfleet. Kirk uses the intercom to order all stations to alert status, and Spock reports a life form on the planet. Kirk's like, you just did a full life scan 5 minutes ago. How is it there now? Spock says it appeared when that space phenomenon ended. Kirk asks what it is, and Spock says it's apparently human, and its appearance coincided with this cosmic waking out. Almost to the second. Explanation? None. Speculation? Could this being present any danger to the ship? Possible. Very possible. Kirk tells her to have security prepare an armed landing party and to let them know if she gets any communication from Starfleet Command. Kirk and Spock head to the turbo lift, and that's our teaser.
Dun dun dun.
So that it? Is that all you got?
Yeah, like, dude, I'm not gonna have very much input on this one.
They called it Starfleet. That's good.
Yeah, yeah. I'll be honest. Half time I was lost in this episode, and half time like I just didn't like this episode. It was very, very hard for me to get into this episode.
Yeah.
Captain's log, stardate 3087.6. While investigating an uncharted planet, the Enterprise, and at least this entire quadrant of space, has been subjected to violent, unexplained stress and force. Sensors have reported the presence of a human being on the planet below who might be connected with the phenomenon. With my first officer and a security team, I have set out in search of him.
Kirk, Spock, and 4 Redshirts beam down to Vasquez Rocks. Okay, I'm gonna stop here because I keep mentioning Vasquez Rocks, but I haven't actually talked about it. So Vasquez Rocks is this place in California where they filmed a lot of Star Trek. And if you've seen it enough and know what it looks like, it's pretty obvious when they're shooting there.
You know, I actually know about this because of the Big Bang Theory.
Before I even got into Star Trek, I saw that episode of The Big Bang Theory. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. They find a flying saucer that looks like it came right out of the Jetsons. They get to the ship and then see a guy on the cliff yelling, "You made it! We can stop him! But I need your help!" He falls with a scream that could give Wilhelm a run for his money. Okay. Okay.
And that was the clip sound.
Fade to the bridge. Uhura says she hasn't received word from Starfleet. Masters reports to Kirk that whatever the phenomenon was drained almost all of the dilithium crystals. Kirk says that without the crystals, their orbit will decay in 10 hours and orders her to re-amplify the crystals. Kirk asks if there has been any more magnetic disturbances. Spock says no, scanners are reporting that everything's normal. Kirk's like, really? And Spock says, nothing illogical. An effect of such proportions unexplainable by any established physical laws that I'm aware of. I have been able to ascertain one fact, though the effect, whatever it was unquestioningly widespread. It was strongest here on the planet beneath us. Uhura gets a code factor 1 from Starfleet Command. Kirk says that's invasion status and orders all hands to the battle stations. McCoy calls Kirk to tell him that the guy from the planet will be okay. Kirk says he'll talk to him later and ends the call. Uhura puts a call from Starfleet Command on the view screen. Commodore Barstow tells Kirk that the phenomenon happened in all quadrants of the galaxy. Complete disruption of normal and magnetic and gravimetric fields, time warp distortion, possible radiation variations, and that it all started in the Enterprise's vicinity. Kirk says he thinks this is leading to invasion. Barstow says that's what we think. Your job is to figure it out. Kirk asks if he can have other ships for backup. The Commodore says no. In fact, we're evacuating all of the ships anywhere near you. Kirk's like, okay, so we're the bait. Barstow says good luck and ends transmission. Kirk goes to Spock. So this came from the planet. The danger is real. Spock interjects, and I need to examine the planet. Kirk says yeah, and I'll talk to our unexpected guest. Alright, so this is the first time we communicate with Starfleet Command like this. Usually it's like delayed radio transmission. This is the first time we see like someone on the view screen from Starfleet. So that's interesting.
Whenever they got the code factor 1, I was like, oh no, not a code factor 1. What are we going to do? Even though I don't know what it is, what are we going to do?
What is it with Kirk and Invasion? This is the second episode in a row where he jumped immediately to Invasion with no real evidence. Like, the Gorn were invading. Now this is an invasion.
And then when the Klingon invade, there's like, okay.
Alright, fade to Kirk sitting at his desk across from who I'm gonna call Lazarus 1. That's how I came to be down here, Captain. Pursuing the devil's own spawn. A thing I've chased across the universe. He's humanoid outside, but inside, he's a hideous, murdering monster. I'll get him, Captain, I swear it. Kirk starts to ask, so this man, Lazarus cuts him off, not a man, a thing. So this thing destroyed your civilization? Yes. Then how are you here? I was inspecting satellites. You believe me, right? Kirk doesn't answer and pivots to the phenomenon. Lazarus says, that was he. He's death. Anti-life. He lives to destroy. The thing that attacked you? Yes. Well, we don't have any other facts, so you'll join me in my holy cause? Look, Skippy, my only cause is the safety of my ship. Did you change your background to a fake kitchen?
No, this is my real kitchen.
I've seen your kitchen, and I don't think that's your real kitchen.
Yes, it is.
Walk over to that microwave.
Why?
Because I don't believe you.
It's an oven anyway.
Okay, fine. Walk over to that sink and turn it on.
I don't need to walk over to that sink right now. You don't like my remodel?
David, I know how small your house is. There's no way you could have remodeled that in your house.
Yeah,
I was also there like 1 week ago. There's no way you could have got that done in 1 week.
The people next door moved out, and we just kind of took over their kitchen too.
Okay. Fade to the planet's surface. Spock is scanning the saucer, and Kirk, who's there with Lazarus, asks if Spock's found anything. Spock says no. Anything from Lazarus? Kirk says there's a humanoid down here. Spock calls Lazarus a liar. Lazarus gets all defensive, and Spock says,
I fail to comprehend your indignation, sir. I've simply made the logical deduction that you are a liar.
The phenomenon starts to happen again, and Lazarus starts shouting and chasing after it. We see Lazarus and another figure fighting in what I'm going to call a negative space. Lazarus 1, back on the planet, has a big gash on his head. Kirk asks what happened, and Lazarus says he was attacked again. Spock says the phenomenon occurred in this exact spot. Kirk says, let's get back to the ship, and Lazarus responds,
He'll kill us all if we don't kill him first. Kill! 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 Kill!
and that is the end of Act 1.
Kill, kill, kill.
Okay.
Captain's log, stardate 3088.3. We continue to orbit the dead planet, which seems to be the source of the phenomenon which has struck the Enterprise and all sections of the galaxy once again. As for Lazarus, the story he tells me about the humanoid continues to trouble me.
We get a shot of the Enterprise, followed by a shot of McCoy bandaging Lazarus's head, and cut to the bridge. Kirk asks Spock if he had any luck. Spock says no. The second phenomenon is just as unexplainable as the first. Kirk's like, well, if there's any truth to what Lazarus said, Spock responds that a single creature, a humanoid, could be responsible for an effect of such magnitude. Kirk's like, yeah, it's hard to believe, but his injuries prove that he did fight with something. Spock agrees. Kirk asks, assuming the humanoid exists, how does he do it? And Spock says the only thing he knows is that the phenomenon happens exactly when Lazarus allegedly has these fights. Uhura tells the captain that McCoy needs him in sickbay. Cut to Kirk and Bones in sickbay.
I don't know, Jim. Maybe I'm imagining things and maybe I'm not. You tell me.
You tell me. That's why you brought me down here, isn't it?
Bones is like, well, I treated his head, left the room for a moment. Bones, I've got a lot of things to do, get to the point. And Bones said, when he walked back in, there was no trace of the injury on his head. Kirk asks where he is, and Bones says, I don't know, Jim, it's a big ship, I'm just a country doctor. I'd like to point out that for this to happen, this means that there was a third phenomenon that they just never acknowledged.
Right.
Cut to who I'm gonna call Lazarus 2 sitting in the rec room. A red shirt walks in and Masters asks if he's finished re-amplification of the dilithium crystals. He says yes, they both leave. Lazarus hears them and follows. Lazarus walks out into the hallway, the phenomenon happens again, we see the two figures fighting in the negative space, and we're back in the hallway with Lazarus 1. Kirk and Bones exit the turbo lift and find Lazarus. Bones rips the bandage off of his head and they see the wound is still there. Lazarus is understandably confused. Kirk says that his doctor just has a strange sense of humor. Bones is trying to tell Kirk that this isn't a joke, but he won't listen. Kirk gets a call from the bridge. Kirk tells Lazarus to come with him and says to Bones, Bones, if I had time, I'd laugh.
I just like how not Kurt, Bones is always funny. Everything he says. Bones has to be my favorite character.
You know, the last time Kirk wasn't believing Bones like this, there really was a white rabbit. I'm just saying.
The rabbit.
Alright, we're on the bridge. On the main view screen, we see the planet and a glowing spot that Spock says is a radiation source. Kirk asks why scanners didn't pick it up before now, and Spock says because it isn't there. Kirk's like, great, first McCoy, now you, and Spock says that according to the scanners, there's nothing there that could be causing that. But it is there. Affirmative. I confess I am somewhat at a loss for words. It may be described, though, loosely and inaccurately as a rip in our universe. A what? A kind of physical warp, Captain, in which none of our established physical laws apply with any regularity. However, with the dilithium crystal, I was able to localize it. Then Lazarus has an epiphany. That's it, the crystals. That's how we get them. Lazarus demands the crystals. Kirk says no, they power the ship. Lazarus says there won't be a ship if we don't destroy him. Kirk, fed up, grabs him and says, how? Now you tell me how. All I've heard is double talk, lies, threats, accusations that don't hold water. Now you tell me how it presents a danger to my ship. I warn you, Captain, you will give me the crystals. Don't threaten me, Lazarus. No threat intended, Captain. I'll have my vengeance.
Don't threaten me if a good time. That's what Kirk's saying.
Lazarus leaves in a hallway. The phenomenon happens again, and now we have Lazarus 2 again. He walks through the halls until he finds engineering. In engineering, Masters and the Redger are doing something with the crystals. When the captain calls, Masters takes the call. Kirk asks her to prepare an experimentation chamber in 10 minutes. All dilithium crystals full power. Meanwhile, Lazarus knocks out the red shirt. She checks the panel with the crystals and goes back to the comm. She starts to tell Kirk they'll be ready when Lazarus knocks her out, but she's able to get a few words out to the captain. Cut to the bridge. Uhura reports Lazarus is missing, and that is the end of Act 2. Now I want to talk for a second about the beard inconsistency. So Lazarus has this, weird beard, right? So
yeah.
If you notice, when he's on the ship, it's, very thin, it looks like it's, barely there anymore. But when he's on the planet, it's, a big, full beard.
Right. I kind of like his beard.
The
I'm not
beard
gonna
is
lie.
very inconsistent in this episode, though.
Well, I mean, how many times do you think they had to take that off and put it back on?
I don't know, but like clearly the Rocks shoot was very early into it, and they had like the beard down, and then the stuff they shot on the ship was like later, and like the beard that was like falling apart. Like there's one scene where like the light's hitting him to where it doesn't look like he has a beard at all, and that's actually the next scene.
Captain's log, stardate 3088.7. We are no closer to finding an answer to the strange phenomenon than we were at the beginning. Not only have 2 of my crewmen been attacked, 2 of our dilithium crystals are missing. And without them, the Enterprise cannot operate at full power. They must be found.
We're in the briefing room with Kirk, Spock, Lazarus One, and a red shirt. Kirk's reading Lazarus the Riot Act. You said you needed the crystals. An hour later, they went missing. 2 of my crewmen were attacked, and he cuts in, and I didn't take them. Find my enemy. He did it. Kirk asks how he got aboard the ship. He did. Isn't that enough? No. Kirk asks why he needs the crystals. Lazarus says for the same reason he does. Then Kirk turns to Spock. Well, the crystals aren't here. Clearly, this is connected to the unexplained radiation. We'll check it out, and Lazarus is coming with us. Kirk, Spock, Lazarus, and a bunch of red shirts are on the planet by Lazarus' ship. Lazarus is like, you believe me now? Kirk answers, I believe the crystals aren't in your ship, but that's it. Spock says he can't find the radiation. Kirk asks why we found it on the ship, and Spock says it disappeared. So the gang splits up to search for more clues.
Just like the Mystery Inc. gang. Scooby Doo.
Good job, David. That's the second time I've done this in this podcast, and you didn't catch it the first time. I don't remember what episode I did that in, but like I have done that before, like hoping you'll pick up the Scooby Doo reference.
Like I've been thinking about buying or paying a subscription to Boomerang so I can watch Scooby Doo and the
Just
Flintstones.
get a Max subscription.
I don't know. Like I have so many.
Like Scooby Doo's on Max. You know what else is on Max? All the Harry Potter. So you could cancel that stupid Peacock subscription.
But then I wouldn't be able to watch The Office, Parks and Rec. That's about it. The Minions.
Shows that you've probably seen a bunch of times.
Yeah. I mean, how many times have I seen Star Trek?
Yeah, but you watch new stuff on Paramount too. You don't have it just to watch old Star Trek.
I mean, I watch Ghosts and Young Sheldon.
See, other stuff. And you watch new Star Trek, which is more stuff. And you also watch Halo.
Which is still Star Trek. Have you seen Fallout?
No.
You need to watch it.
Well, I don't have Prime, so.
Well, that sucks.
All right, let's get back to the episode. All right, they go searching for the beast that Lazarus keeps talking about. The phenomenon happens again. We see another fight in the negative space, and we're back on the planet with Lazarus 1. Lazarus tries to climb down a cliff, knocks over a big old rock, and yells at Kirk before it smashes him. Then he falls off with a pretty good scream. Sick bay. Lazarus wakes up. Kirk thanks him for saving his life, but wants to ask him a few questions. Bones says not now, but Kirk asks anyways. Turns out there's no planet where Lazarus says he's from, and Kirk wants the truth. So Lazarus tells him that the planet they're orbiting is his planet, and his ship is a time machine, and he's a time traveler. He starts to scream about needing the crystals to stop the thing that supposedly killed his planet. Kirk pushes him down onto the bed. Lazarus is out of energy, so he just lies there. Bones says that Lazarus needs to rest, and Kirk needs to get the security guard out of here. Bones says he won't get away this time, and they all leave. Once they're gone, Lazarus gets them and starts to leave. But I guess another phenomenon happens. We don't get any of the effects. The camera just goes fuzzy, and we don't switch Lazarus's. So I don't really see the point of this.
I don't know either. There's a lot of stuff in this episode that I really didn't get. I was like, what?
Speaking of which, why didn't McCoy strap Lazarus down to the bed? He says he won't get out of here this time, leaves, and then he immediately gets out of there.
I don't know. McCoy's kind of weird sometimes.
Like, we know he has the ability to strap him to the bed. We've seen him do it before.
Multiple times. He's almost like Kirk, strapping people down to the bed.
I don't like what you're insinuating.
Uh,
All right, Kirk and Spock are in the briefing room. Kirk, what have we got, Mr. Spock? A magnetic effect which produces a winking out phenomenon, a mysterious unidentified source of radiation on the planet, Lazarus, a walking powder keg, you're ripping the universe, a so-called murdering humanoid. Spock, true, Captain, but more significant to me is the fact that our ship's instruments are specifically designed to locate and identify any object in our universe, be it energy or matter. Kirk, but by using those instruments, you were unable to identify the source of the radiation on the planet. Spock, correct, which would seem to be impossible. Kirk, are the instruments in order? Spock, perfect working condition. Kirk, then what you say leads obviously to one alternative. The source of the radiation is not from our universe. Spock, nor in our universe, Captain. It came from outside. Kirk, outside. Yes, that would explain a lot. Another universe, perhaps in another dimension, occupying the same space at the same time. Spock, the possible existence of a parallel universe has been scientifically conceded, Captain. Kirk, alright, what would happen if another universe, say a minus universe, came into contact with a positive universe such as ours? Spock, unquestionably a warp, a distortion of physical laws on an immense scale. Kirk, which is what we've been experiencing. The point where they come into contact, couldn't that be described as a hole? Spock, indeed. I point out that a hole in the universe or in a simple container can either allow the contents to escape, Kirk, or what is outside to enter. The invasion that Commodore Barstow suspected. Spock, there has been no evidence of a large-scale invasion, Kirk, but a small-scale invasion. Mr. Spock, what is your analysis of the mental state of Lazarus? Spock, difficult, Captain. One moment paranoid, the next calm, mild, rational, almost as if he were two men. Kirk, yes, two men, different but identical, and a hole in the universe. No, not a hole, a door. Spock, through which these two beings are somehow enabled to pass. Kirk, take a look at Lazarus. One minute he's at the point of death, the next he's alive, well, strong as a bull. Spock, cut on his forehead. First he has it, then it's gone, then he has it again. Kirk, which is physically impossible for one man. Spock, quite right. Unquestionably, there are two of him. Kirk, what's going on? This leaping from universe to universe? This wild talk about a murdering creature who destroys civilizations? What's the purpose? Spock, Jim, madness has no purpose or reason, but it may have a goal. He must be stopped, held, destroyed if necessary. Kirk, I don't follow you. Spock, two parallel universes project this, one positive, the other negative, or more specifically, one matter, the other antimatter. Kirk, do you know what you're saying? Matter and antimatter have a tendency to cancel each other out, violently. Spock, precisely. Under certain conditions, when two identical particles of matter and antimatter meet. Kirk, like Lazarus, identical, like both Lazaruses. Only one is matter and the other antimatter. If they meet, Spock, annihilation, Jim. Total, complete, absolute annihilation, Kirk, of everything that exists, everywhere.
Did you even catch what they were talking about? Like,
Yes.
it took me way too long to figure out what was going on with that.
There's two Lazaruses. One is matter, one is antimatter. If they're in the same universe and they meet, if they touch each other, then everything goes boom.
Yeah, they could have explained that way better.
I mean,
way easier.
They kind of do later in the episode.
Yeah, later. But
All right, cut to Lazarus walking the halls. He spots a high voltage panel. He pulls it out, pulls out some plugs, puts one in the wrong hole, and it starts to smoke. Cut to engineering. The console with the dilithium crystals starts to smoke and catch on fire. Masters in the red shirt have to leave. They're in the hall calling for help. Lazarus slips in unnoticed because of the smoke. On the bridge, Uhura tells Kirk and Spock about the fire. They head that way. Kirk and Spock get to engineering, realize it's Lazarus. Cut to the transporter room. Lazarus knocks out a red shirt and beams himself down. Kirk leaves engineering to chase Lazarus. Lazarus loads the crystals into his ship. A suddenly conscious red shirt beams Kirk down. Kirk makes it to the saucer. lunges in after Lazarus, and vanishes, and that is the end of Act 3.
Do you notice that there are two people missing from this episode?
Well, Scotty, definitely, because there's a lot of engineering stuff here, and Scotty's nowhere to be found.
Right, some random science chick is in there.
All right, who
And
else?
Sulu.
Okay, that's pretty normal, though. Sulu's, like, not there all the time.
I I guess Scotty just got lost, because he can't find engineering half the time.
Yeah, what really happened is, like, it cost more to hire James Doohan, so they just got a background actor.
Uh,
We see Kirk just kind of running around that in that negative space, and then he's on the planet, but Lazarus isn't there, and it's night now. He sees the saucer, but now the dome has been broken off of it. Kirk approaches the ship. Lazarus, too, working on the ship, pops up and welcomes the captain, says he wasn't expecting to see Kirk. Kirk says, "No, you're expecting him." "Yes, so you understand." "Kinda. So this is a parallel universe?" "Yes." "Antimatter?" "Yes." "And if the two of you meet, the end of everything, and that's why I took your crystals." "He has more." "That's bad, but you coming through drained his crystals, and that'll give us enough time to stop him." "So what did I pass through?" "I'd call it an alternative warp. It's sort of a negative magnetic corridor where the two parallel universes meet. It's sort of a safety valve. It keeps eternity from blowing up. So that's what's been causing the phenomenon. Yes, but not because it's there, but because Lazarus has been going through. The corridor is like a prison with explosives at the door. Open the door and the explosives might go off. Stay inside," Kirk finishes the sentence, "and the universe is safe. Both universes, Captain." But Lazarus knows what would happen, right? He does, but when my people figured out how to go to this
When his people figure out how to go to that universe.
yeah, and prove its existence, the other me snapped. He's obsessed with killing me, even if it means destroying himself in two universes. "So you're the terrible thing, the murdering monster, the creature." "Well, that depends on your point of view, doesn't it?" Then Lazarus lays out the plan. Kirk has to force Lazarus 1 into the negative space where Lazarus 2 will be waiting for him. Kirk points out that he can't hold the other him forever, and Lazarus says that, "Yes, I can, because you'll destroy his ship." Kirk asks, "Won't that destroy yours?" "Yes, you'll be trapped with him forever." "Yeah, but I'll be saving two universes in the process."
It almost gives you Mirror Universe vibes.
Different mirror.
Yeah.
Kirk goes through and reappears on the planet. Spock and the red shirts already have Lazarus 1 surrounded. Kirk and Lazarus fight, ending with Kirk pushing Lazarus into the ship. Spock orders to get the crystals to the Enterprise. Kirk tells Spock they have to destroy the ship. Spock asks, "What about Lazarus?" Kirk responds, "What about Lazarus?" Alright, we get a shot of the Enterprise, cut to the bridge. Kirk orders Leslie to fire on the ship. We see the phasers hit the ship, a shot of the Lazari fighting in the negative space, and then the ship is disintegrated. Kirk orders Leslie to get us out of there, then...
Everything's all right, Mr. Spock, for us.
There is, of course, no escape for them, sir.
There is, of course, no escape. How would it be? Trapped forever with a raging madman at your throat. Until time itself came to a stop. For eternity. How would it be?
Captain, the universe is safe.
For you and me. But what of Lazarus? What of Lazarus?
And that is the end of our episode.
Yeah, that's kind of sad though, the ending,
Yeah,
where Lazarus is just going to be facing Lazarus for the rest of his life,
yeah,
for all eternity.
for all eternity. Or until Lower Decks finds the way to bring him back.
In this season.
Alright, final thoughts?
No, 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 I don't have any final thoughts.
I know you have a ranking in there somewhere.
Oh yeah. So on the Bailey scale, 1 Bailey being the best, 10 Baileys being the worst, I'm gonna give this a 9 Baileys.
Dang, I was about to like try to like say it with you because I thought you were gonna say 10,
No.
but you went 9 on me.
Yep. I went 9. I think honestly, there's one episode in Next Generation that I could probably give a 10 to.
Hmm. I don't know what this is, but we'll get
And
there in a few
I'm
years.
and a lot of people are gonna hate me.
All right, and now for the part of the show where I point out uniform inconsistencies. Lieutenant Charlene Masters, who is an engineer, 1, doesn't have any lieutenant stripes on her sleeves, and 2, is wearing blue. And that concludes this segment.
I noticed that. I was like, why does she not have lieutenant stripes? Like, what is going on? Is she a crew like just a um enlisted? But then I was like, no, wait, they called her lieutenant.
And her assistant has lieutenant stripes.
Yeah,
And she's wearing blue when she's an engineer.
yeah.
All right. Join us next week for Tomorrow is Yesterday. You can find me everywhere at Couch Talks Movies. David, tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram, the underscore actual underscore David underscore Moss.
You can find the show at Tomorrow Trek Pod on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and at patreon.com/tomorrowisyesterday. And don't forget to check out our stuff on the Couch Podcast Network store at couchtheaters.com. It's a long story. And until next time,
Live long and be Reptar. I want to say that in all fairness, the '09 movies are actually pretty good. Like they're good and they are Star Trek.